YN's parents were happily married and had two kids, YN and her older brother. When she was 8 years old, Mr. Lee came with a girl and said she is pregnant with his child. After that, Mrs. Lee divorced him and also asked for both kids' custody. Mr. Lee gave YB's custody to Mrs. Lee, but he didn't give YN's custody to her because he loves Mrs. Lee so much. And YN is exact copy of Mrs. Lee. Mr. Lee kept her so that he will be able to see Mrs. Lee whenever she will come to meet YN. He loves Mrs. Lee and both of their kids more than anything. Actually, one day Mr. Lee went to a business party and there, Mr. and Mrs. Kim were also present. At that time, Mrs. Kim was rich spoiled brat. She gave dare to her best friend to give Viagra to someone and seduce him and her friend choose Mr. Lee. She didn't know he was married and that night he did a big sin and for that he is still regretting. He also told Mrs. Kim's friend that he will never forgive her nor he will love her because he only loved YN's mom. One day Mrs. Kim came to Mr. Lee's house. She and her friend both were also regretting. Both were talking and YN heard their talk and she started to hate Mrs. Kim and told her not to come to their house. At that time kids also came with Mrs. Kim and when YN was shouting at her they were in garden playing with each other. At that time Jin was 14, Suga was 13, J-Hope and Namjoon were 12, Jimin and Taehyung were 11 and Jungkook was 9 years old. When they see YN for the first time they fall for her. After divorce, Ms. Lim came to know that she's pregnant with twins, but she didn't tell Mr. Lee about her pregnancy because she got scared that Mr. Lee will snatch her babies from her. When YN turned 18, she left Mr. Lee's house and shift to her new apartment and start doing part-time jobs with her studies. YN have a stepsister who want to play and talk with YN, but she never even look at her because she think she and her mom are the reason of breaking her family. YN was remembering about her family and had tears in her eyes. Just then she got a call from Jin. Jin, hi. YN, yes, said coldly. Jin, actually, are you free tonight because we want to take you out on a dinner? YN, she closes her eyes and said okay. Tell me time I'll be there. Jin, no, we will pick you up from your house. YN, I don't live there. I'll give you my apartment's address. Is that okay? Jin, more than okay. Bye, see you tonight, he said nervously. Cut the call. YN, where am I stuck? Jin, she agreed, he said excitedly, and everyone started jumping happily. Then Mr. Kim entered the room and he smiled by seeing his sons happy. Mr. Kim, wow, I want to know what makes my sons this much happy that they are dancing. Jungkook, Dad, you don't know how much we are happy. And also you are reason of our happiness and we are going out on dinner with YN. We have to give this news to Mom. Mr. Kim, wait Jungkook, I want to talk to you all. It's important. Namjoon, yes Dad, we are hearing. Mr. Kim tells them everything what Mrs. Kim and her friend did. I thought to tell you before, but it slipped out of my mind. Suga, it must be so hard for her. Taehyung, then how she agreed to get married to us because we are her enemy's sons. Mr. Kim, I know that my boys loves her and I want you to make her happy and feel loved. She won't do anything to you until you do something to her. J-Hope, like what will she do? Mr. Kim, let me think, like if you mess with her she will beat you. Boys got scared and Mr. Kim tries to control his laugh. I'm sorry, she won't do anything. I'm just joking. Easy. Jungkook, Dad, you scared us.